Young, hello, I am the Dark Fae, and welcome back to Confessions of a First-Time Dungeon Master. As always, if you missed the last session, I will put a link to it up here in the corner for you, so you can watch it, and then come back and find out what happened next. We are in session 22 now. They're starting to fly by now that we're going at a regular cadence once a week with shelter in place going on. But, so without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so for this session, this is kind of like the Harvest Festival session, so I kind of prepped a lot of more like world flavor, like fun little things that they could do. Like there's like mini games and just like kind of give them a general sense of like what the kind of like what the feel of the festival was. Just a lot of like merriment, a lot of drinking, a lot of like mingling. So I kind of gave them some free rein on like what they wanted to do at the festival, if anything. So during this session was a little awkward just because people kind of like one person joined late and then people had to kind of drop off at different intervals. So then we were only left with like some of our players, but it kind of worked out in the end. But so recap, I guess, first. Basically they did prep for Tyrell's like fight, and the way that I kind of did it, so 3 rounds, but since I didn't want to go through like detailed combat for each one, basically I said that like the first 2 rounds, which were against just like a city guard and then like the town blacksmith who had signed up, like those would be pretty easy, like not really a match for like a level 6 fighter kind of his level. So the only like real kind of showdown would be the final. And so I prepped 2 characters for this. I prepped one, a dragonborn fighter of the Battlemaster archetype named Arona instead. And so kind of like fighter versus fighter, see how it kind of fared. And then the other one that I prepped was a human barbarian named Rika, who is a berserker. So I kind of actually, instead of like choosing on my own and like, you know, like rolling a combat between them, I actually let Tyrell choose who he wanted to fight. He also couldn't decide because he doesn't know like too much about the mechanics of either, which is good because like I'm okay with some metagaming, but like it's better if he kind of just chooses, you know, not knowing like all the specifics like HP and armor class and all that. So he ended up rolling for it, and he ended up with Arona instead, the dragonborn, who is actually also part of like another adventuring group called the Dauntless. And they have like an elven ranger, Vanilla, a halfling cleric, Ren, a gnomish wizard named Siggy, and a human rogue named Aranus. So they kind of have 5, and our party has 5. So I don't know, maybe one day they can team up or they can fight each other. But they spent some time doing some prep for this battle, and you might wonder, this is like a friendly Harvest Festival like tournament. What do they need to prep? Well, let me tell you, when it comes to fights, or it comes to anything that has a prize or is anything competition like, my group likes to find ways to subtly interfere with the outcome in order to favor their group, because, you know, they want to win, which I understand, but trying really hard to get them to fight a fair fight in like a rural kind of situation where it's not super high stakes. So let me tell you what happened. So basically, kind of a few days into the festival is the final round of the sword fighting match. The prize pool for this is 50 gold, and then it's revealed that there's like a mysterious prize that was left by some like anonymous donor, and it turns out that it is a shield with an eye emblazoned upon it that has a symbol of a sword and a quill. And this shield is very recognizable to Ivar 71, who dropped his sentinel shield in the Yorkasi forest. I think I messed up and I thought it was the Darkwood, so I gave them the wrong cardinal direction. But anyways, then they kind of need to figure out whether this is actually his shield or just one that's like similar, since all of the Warforged kind of have a similar look and a similar appearance, and a similar set of equipment. So, now that they want this shield, and also because Ivar wasn't here for the first part, so it's kind of like, it would have been nice if he had been, because then he could have weighed in on like how much he wanted his shield back, which throughout the campaign has been hinted pretty often that he wants it back, which is why it's here. But so it kind of like ended up being like the rest of the party trying to figure it out, and then him weighing in after he got into the session and then like found out what happened. So I feel like a lot of the session could have been like wrapped up a little bit neater and like done all in one go, versus like them finding out everything and then trying to do their thing, and then him, Ivar, finding out and then going to do his thing to try to get the shield. So it was kind of a bit jumbly. But so they find out it's a shield, and then they come up with some kind of schemes to try to help Tyrol win, which they discussed privately, and I let them see what they were going to do. But I think they kept in mind that some spells are like you can see the effects, and also you can tell when someone is casting. Casting's not just like a wave of the hand, or like, you know, or like a whispered word. It requires some movements and verbal components, etc. So, the fight begins. I believe Tyrol rolls a higher initiative, so he goes first. Basically, they start fighting. So Tyrol is a fighter. He's a champion fighter, which means some of his abilities he gets like, I think, a 19 on a crit, and he gets some like athletic boosts. And with his like short sword and dual short swords. And by the way, for these matches, I specifically said that like the weapons were provided and they're like blunted, so they don't actually do like damage. They won't actually like cut each other to shreds. But the two short swords, he does a fairly decent output because he can attack twice and then once with his offhand. Whereas Arun instead, he fights with a longsword and a shield, and he actually has a couple feats, like Shield Master feat, which lets you like shove an opponent and also like add your shield proficiency to dex saves. And then so they start fighting. It's, I think, fairly even. Arun instead was pulling ahead slightly because I did roll a natural 20 with one of his battle maneuvers with I think it was a riposte, which is when an opponent misses you with a melee attack, you can make a melee attack as a reaction. So he rolled natural 20, and natural 20, you double your dice. So he 2d8 for his sword, and then it also doubles his battle maneuver dice, so it's another 2d8. So 4d8 plus 6, not a lot of damage. So Arun instead, I think he hovered like around like mid-30s for HP. He used his second wind. Tyrol was starting to look a little bit winded. I was rolling pretty well. So basically, to help Tyrol, Valkyrie had cast guidance on him to start to add a d4 to an ability check. So Tyrol, he had a signal, which is to go like this, like hit his head 3 times and just go Tyrol, which was apparently the signal that he needed help. So at one point when he was kind of up against like the fence, he did that, and then Valkyrie, who's right behind him, healed him for like 20 HP. And then At another point, when he got low again, he signaled again, and then Umric, he and Umric had worked something out where like Tyrell would use his sword to try and like catch the sun to shine it in Aronensted's eyes, and then at that point, Umric would cast blindness, which is not the most subtle of things, especially when you're hitting your head and yelling Tyrell. Or Raptor, I guess. He had a code name. That was Raptor. He was like hiding his face because he didn't want to be known because he's running from the members of his covenant that he abandoned. But, so Umric cast blindness, and I asked him to make like a stealth check to see if he can do it without people noticing, because there's a lot of people gathered around, including like the Farmers Guild head, some of the castle guard. Fernay is there, and Fernay also instantly knows that it's them because she has such good like passive perception and insight. But Umric, he yells out Tyrell and then casts the spell. He rolls stealth. He rolls a natural 1. So, but Aronenstead fails his check, so he goes blind. And as he's yelling that like he can't see, people are starting to be like, what the hell? Like this is not cool. You just fucking cast a spell. But before the Farmers Guild, like the judge can intervene, like Fernay kind of stops him. And I didn't really mean this as like like she supports them kind of thing, but more just like it wouldn't be good to kind of sully the festival with like this situation, and should just let them keep fighting and let them have it out and then go from there. So eventually, with Aronenstead blinded, he does it does take a couple of his like turns because he's disadvantage on his attacks, so he misses a few. And that's kind of enough to get Tyrell to finish him off. I think he was at like 9 health, 12 health, something like that. He's pretty low, and this is with a lot of healing from Second Wind and also Valhyrie's Cure Wounds. So Aronenstead, he did pretty well, and I think he would have won if not for a lot of that. So basically after the fight, Aronenstead, he's kind of dazed. He eventually gets back on his feet, and then the judges make a ruling, given that some shenanigans have been going on. So basically, they crown Tyrell the winner of the sword fighting competition, but the prizes and the spoils go to Aronenstead. So I thought that was more than fair. And maybe my party will learn. No, they won't. They won't learn from this to not interfere with some things that should just be fought one-on-one. Like, I hope that one day they will have like confidence in their abilities and in their like, I guess their playing style to be able to tackle something like on that character's own, you know, but we'll see. Anyways, so after that, they all kind of go into the festival, just drinking. Tyrell and Valhyrie kind of befriend Aronenstead a bit. Umric, after hearing that the shield was appraised by Fernay, said to be worth a couple hundred gold, goes to talk to her and asks about like the fellow who donated it, and she said that she was curious as well, but that she wasn't able to find out much about him, just that he was like a tall, slender man, kind of a stranger who just dropped it off and then headed off. And then at that point, though, like while she's talking with Umric, she gets a message from somebody. Someone casts sending to her, basically telling her that several of their teams did not return, and there has been no word. And so this is regarding her kind of ongoing quest and the tensions between Wallach and Prill. So she kind of like breaks a mug because she's pissed off, and she's replies saying, "What do you mean they didn't return? Send me a full report now. And so with that, she kind of leaves the festival. And that's kind of like a quest hook. If they want to help out with that, they potentially can. It'll be up to like Ferney to persuade her covenant to consider like allowing non-covenant members to help. But that's for later. So around this time, Ivar joins the session, and they let him know that like, oh, this guy has your shield now. So now it's his turn to go and kind of like befriend the guy. So after drinking with him and such, so he tries to convince him, or Ronan instead, to give him the shield. And this is kind of where I find myself in the position where I definitely weigh like the role play and like what my characters say and do, or what my players say and do, over like a dice roll. And so he basically was saying that oh, the shield like is crappy, or like the eye must mean it's cursed, etc. You should just like throw it away. But like this argument, if you should just throw it away, there's no reason why Ivar would want the shield. So Ronan instead, he calls his wizard friend Siggy over to identify it, which she does, and tells him that it's quite a magical shield and pretty useful. And Ronan instead, as after all a shield user, I didn't give Ivar a roll for that. Also, he used his perfume of bewitching, which gives you advantage on charisma checks for humanoids that are below CR1, but I mean, I just kind of gave it to him. And so then he switches track and just says that like, oh, it is a very pretty shield, like the eye is so cute, like, and it matches my look. I'm like, so you're trying to persuade him to give it to you because it's pretty. It's like, yeah, pretty much. Like, and I mean, that was his attempt. So, and he wasn't really saying anything more. So I'm like, okay, I'll give you the roll, but that would be a disadvantage because that's not a solid reason at all. It's a straight roll. And then the DC would be like insanely high because I don't think that's a reason to give somebody a shield that you won in a fight. So he rolled like a couple persuasion checks over the course of this discussion. He rolled like only 7s. So he didn't get the shield, needless to say. And the thing about Aronenstead is like a nice dude. He's like genuinely just like very interested in like other people's stories and other people's lives, and doesn't harbor like any ill will or anything. I don't know, he's just a nice guy. And so in my head I was like, if you literally just tell him why you want the shield back, he would give it to you. Like, you roll like a 10 persuasion, which is like, you know, like the base roll for like anything that's like pretty simple, and he would give it to you. But he didn't want to, and he didn't even ask like to buy it either, which the other players were like, did you ask? No. So then I don't know, Rika came over and talked to them for a bit, mentioned the cheating, and then Aronenstead. By the way, I really like Rika, and I'm a little bit sad that I didn't get to do more with her, because she's a barbarian from like the Tancresen Highlands on her pilgrimage to fight monsters at the Blood Lakes in order to be like welcomed into her tribe as like a warrior, or initiated into her tribe. Anyways, but so Aronenstead offers then for Ivar to fight him for it, and I specifically mentioned that it'd be like a sparring match, not to the death. They would use like the same kind of blunted weapons. To which Ivar replies, "Oh, but I'm a pacifist. I don't fight for fun." And that, to which I just like, throw me a bone here. Like, I'm trying to give you a way to get the shield. You're not taking it. So nothing is resolved. Aronenstead still has a shield. They go back home, and discuss at their base what to do. Ivar seems to want to like steal the shield somehow, which is like something they can do, right? But again, like Aronensted's a nice guy. They don't have to steal it. But and also because like now that they've made friends with him, like they don't really want to steal it either, but then they do want to steal it. So eventually they go talk to him again. Ivar and I think Teyral. They go to the Dragon's Roost where they're staying to go talk to Aronensted again. And again, he rolls like a 7 on persuasion. I forget his argument because it wasn't that compelling, I think. And basically he offers to the fight again, and he finally accepts. So then they have their duel for the next session, because I think that's about where we ended, was Aronensted like Aronensted and Ivar setting up this battle for the shield. Basically, Aronensted wants to see like how much like heart Ivar, even though he's a metal man, but how much like heart he has like when he fights, and like what his like prowess is, and then based upon that, he'll judge if he's worthy basically to wield the shield. Yeah. You think if there's anything else I'm missing in the session? Valkyrie was the only person to play a Harvest game, so I appreciate that because no one else seemed very interested in the Harvest Festival. Or even like talking to people. They just seemed to like go back to their house and then chill and like not do anything, which is fine. Like they obviously like don't have to latch on to like everything that I provide, but the whole like in D&D you're supposed to do stuff. Like your characters are supposed to like go on journeys and adventures, right? So I don't know, just like periods of when they just like go home and do nothing, and like there's nothing that they want to do, just seem like lost opportunities to me. Because like even if you're not like on a quest or like not, or just like chilling in the city while there's whatever going on, there's always like something you could do. You could like read a book, you could you'd like try to learn something, I don't know, you could go talk to people, you can even like, I don't know, like train. Like these things might not have like a mechanical bonus, but like roleplay wise, like what would your character do when you're just sitting at home? I feel like no one has really given me something that like their character likes to do just purely for the RP of it, minus like when I asked them specifically to do it in downtime. And then half of them didn't do it. So I don't know. But Valkyrie, she played a game on like Guess the Weight of the Pig, and she's given that she has turned into a pig, a truffle pig, before to hunt for mushrooms and knows animals pretty well. She rolled like a 24, I think, on her nature check. So said, yeah, you probably guessed the pig's weight, and she did. And so she won like a ribbon and a couple silver and like a tiny teacup pig, who's like pink with like a couple brown spots, and who's very cute. And she named her Rose, which is actually the name of one of my characters from like our previous campaign. She was like a half-orc little girl, like 3 feet tall, and she had like pink hair and like 2 little pigtails, so that was sweet. And then that's kind of where we left off. Everyone's kind of back at the house, and now they're preparing for another fight, and now I'll have to see if they're gonna fight this one fair or not. I kind of hinted that with Rika and with kind of Aronensted wanting to see Ivar's like fighting skills, that maybe you shouldn't cheat, but we'll see. So yeah, that is session 22. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Sorry, I feel like this one was a bit disorganized, a little bit jumbled because I've done like a lot of prep for stuff ahead of time, and I keep needing to like go back. But yeah, don't forget to like and leave a comment, and don't and subscribe for more videos. I put out videos every other day. So, thanks again for watching, and I will see you in the next one.